week of J&J's review round. We're talking about the new solo album from the man Joe Satriani.
The man, the legend.
Shockwave Supernova.
One of the reasons why I started to get into guitar, really.
So here's my take on it, really quick. I went into this album, and I had no clue what I was gonna hear from it.
Yep.
You know, I know who the man is. I know his background. You know, kind of. Not completely. So I started listening to the album. Honestly, as someone who's not too familiar, you know, with as far as music without vocals, you know, that takes getting used to. But this album's actually pretty cool.
Isn't this album awesome?
I really, actually, you know, honestly, I enjoy it.
If you play guitar, I mean, chances are you've at least heard of him. You know, Satch has had a very long, outstanding career. I mean, he's been doing this kind of guitar playing since probably like the 80s. Awesome, awesome album from beginning to end. I mean, the first Satch album I ever listened to was Surfing with the Alien. And that was really one of the albums that really got me into playing the stuff that I do. And I think this album as a whole is a nice reflection of old school Satriani in some ways.
He's the one that was more familiar with this than I am. Like I said, I didn't know anything going into this, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, this is one of the cool things about doing this, about doing our channel, is because we're constantly learning stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're listening to, you know, what we actively listen to a lot. You know, their new material, but then we're also, you know, picking up new stuff.
Right, exactly.
Like
and sometimes the new stuff is a great thing. You know, it's very refreshing. This album for me was a nice resort back to, you know, when I think of real Joe Satriani, old school Joe Satriani, obviously a lot of the things from Surfing with the Alien light up for me because that album is so important to me. And on this album, there's a couple of songs that really that stuck out to me. One of the ones was one of the singles that came out for it that came out about like a month ago, Peregrine Wings. Yep, and that track was probably one of my favorites off this record. For the most part, this record has a lot. Obviously, it's Satriani, so it's got a lot of funk elements in it. The blistering guitar stuff, you know, it's got that, and the musicianship overall. It's Satriani. I mean, he's never, in my eyes, I don't think he's ever put out a bad album. And there's definitely some modification and a little bit refinement of the sounds. I noticed in this, but I'm pretty sure he's been doing this for a while, but there's this thing that came out like a while ago. It's called the Sustainiac pickup. And it's a guitar pickup that, you know, you install in guitar. And pretty much what it does is so you'll hit a note on the guitar, and the guitar will hold it forever. And there's all sorts of things that you
did mention that before.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of things that you can do with that. You know, some people that aren't used to guitar playing or stuff like that might not notice this element, but this is actually a very important element. It's become not a staple, but a very helpful ally in what Joe's trying to do in his albums now, as he can add all sorts of really cool effects, which is one of the things that really set him apart when he started doing this. You know, the Sustainiac thing allows Joe to do a lot of really crazy harmonic stuff and make really cool tones on this album that sometimes people might listen to it and be like, wow, I don't know how he does that. A lot of it is due to that device. Compositionally, this album is just it's a really gritty rock album. I really like it. I think Unstoppable Momentum was the last one I think that came out.
Yeah,
I think.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, it came out a couple of years ago, and that album was really awesome too. This album, maybe for me, a little bit different. Sometimes Joe makes ballady kind of songs.
Yeah,
he's got a mix. He's got a mix between like ballady songs and just a little bit more straightforward songs. Maybe like something like an Ice Nine or something like that, or Crushing Day. Some really awesome guitar playing. This music is awesome to drive to.
You stole what I was going to say.
Listen.
This
I'm glad that somebody else sees the practical, like what this music, like the best way. This music is so much fun to drive to.
I was going to say that. I said, if you're going to listen to this album, I said, and you have a long drive ahead of you,
yes,
I said, this is the album to pop in.
Isn't it awesome?
You know, I said, I'm driving to work, and you know, going to work, leaving work, and you know, coming here and everything like that. I said, this is fun to listen to while you're driving in the car.
It's killer. Because I immediately like, and that's been a long-lasting impression that I've always had off Satriani albums. Yeah. That started with like Surfing with the Alien, honestly, again, for me. I mean, I just love that album so much. We used to drive and listen to, I just blast Crushing Day in my convertible. And it was always just the coolest. I mean, You know, not anything off like Not of This Earth and stuff like that. I was thinking about it because I was like, boy, I don't know if he did anything that was like similar to this, but
Yeah.
I think if you were gonna try to compare this to any other work that he's done, I think it's Crystal Planet. That album has a lot of similarities to this one.
Some of my personal favorites on the album, I really liked Lost in a Memory.
Yep.
Crazy Joey.
Crazy Joey, that's track 3, right?
Yeah, and then
yeah, that one's really good.
San Francisco Blue was pretty cool too.
Yeah,
Very, really funky on that track.
Yeah, that track's actually been out for a while. I think that was a single that they released, to show.
Those are my personal favorites from the album. Like I said before, like going into this, I didn't know anything. The thing with, I thought about this, with instrumental music, I really listen to music, obviously for, the instrumental part of it, but, the lyrics are very important to me too, for a lot of music. So I went into this knowing that there'd be a lack of vocals. I don't know, maybe listening to something that's all instrumental might not be that exciting. But I didn't get that from this album at all. That's why I'm very surprised with this album, how much it actually interested me, with somebody who's not familiar with, something that's just all instrumental.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing too, is that when you start to listen to, I guess Satriani would be considered a guitar virtuoso. And I think one of the cool things about Joe is, and I think maybe this is maybe true with Steve Vai as well, and a lot of the, guys of that nature and that caliber. When you start to listen to it and you're like, boy, maybe the lack of vocals is going to be different. He's able to play in such a way and tell such a dynamic story with his instrument
that he doesn't need
that vocals are borderline not even needed.
That's
and
exactly
it almost allows your brain to roam a little bit and maybe make up its own story.
Yeah.
It's like your brain can interpret the music in its own way, and at times it can be extremely refreshing.
I would say that'd probably be the perfect analogy, for this album.
If you're looking for a super awesome, funky, good rock album with some shredding guitar, from a legend, a guy that I've admired and a lot of people have admired, and John hasn't listened to really anything by him previously, and he really enjoyed it. So if you're looking for something like that, absolutely give thumbs up for Shockwave Supernova, Joe Satriani's new album. We loved it. So hopefully Satch keeps on rocking for many years to come.
Keep doing your thing, Mr. Satriani.
You're the man.